Hey everybody, it's Mr. Haas, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about evaporation. And I know we started this in class before all this craziness began, but I do want to do a little bit of review about what evaporation is and what is actually happening. So when we talk about evaporation, we talk about liquids, disappearing. And when you guys were younger, you said, oh, the water, oh, it disappeared. There was a puddle, now it's gone. But the thing to remember is the water is not actually gone. Evaporation is one of the most important parts of the water cycle. And it starts with the sun. And you can see today is just a beautiful sunny day. There's the sun shining. And the thermal energy that we get from the sun is what begins this whole process of the water cycle. So with evaporation, what happens is that energy from the sun through the process of radiation makes its way to water. And when that thermal energy hits the molecules of water, those molecules begin to speed up. And as they speed up, they get faster and faster until they are able to break away from the water and become a gas. And when they become a gas, they then float into the air. So what evaporation is, it's the process of turning liquid water into water vapor or water in the gaseous form. All right, now that's really, really important because once that water is in the gaseous form, convection, which is what happens when warm air rises and cool air sinks, that convection allows that water vapor to then begin to float up into the air higher and higher. Lately in the spring, you don't get a lot of days with a lot of humidity, but humidity is what happens when you have a lot of evaporation occurring. You often feel that water vapor in the air in the summertime when you're like, oh, you walk outside and it's sticky and nasty and you can't seem to cool down. That is when there's a lot of evaporation occurring and you have a lot of water vapor in the air. Now today's a real windy day. It is sunny, but there's not a lot of, and even though there's a lot of evaporation going on, there's not a lot of water on the ground. So we're not getting a real humid a day today. Actually, the wind helps to cool things down. So when we look at, I'm going to step into my woods behind my house here, and we take a look at, this puddle here. It's actually part of a stream. But you can see part of it is actually dried out. And that's because this part right here, okay, it's actually dried out because even though we are in the shade, there's enough thermal energy in the air that when the water is, or when the rain is stopped and the water is just sitting there, that water evaporates. Now, again, it doesn't just disappear magically. All it means is evaporation is taking that liquid water and turning it into water vapor. And once it leaves, then whatever water's in there, in a puddle or in a lake or a pond or even the ocean, that water level goes down slightly until there's no more left. Okay, so that's the process of evaporation. Now the last thing, and most of you know this, but I do want to remind you, you want to think about where evaporation occurs the most. And we actually did something like this in class. Evaporation occurs more often or faster when there is more thermal energy, which means if you're in the woods here where there's a lot of shade, you are going to have a lot slower rate of evaporation. Whereas somewhere in the sun, like on the top of my deck or over here by my stairs and this beautiful plant, okay, you're going to have quicker evaporation and water will more quickly go from a liquid to a gas. So there you go. There's your information about evaporation. I hope you learned something, and I hope you guys have a great day.